This is one of the greatest failures I've ever seen real time. Just one of the greatest implosions. I have no idea how the Pac-12 fumbled Deion Sanders, Colorado, and so many different schools. They were on the ropes a year ago when their cash cows told them they were leaving, but they were able to get a lifeline and get Prime in there, and I'll read off some stats. So as soon as Coach Prime got hired, there was a 700% spike in merch sales. There was a 722% growth in IG followers, a sold-out spring game, the only spring game on ESPN. He already sold out 2 home games, and you are now in a position to package him to get a TV deal to keep the Pac-12 together. And they just shit the bed. I've never seen anything like it. With as much time, it's not like everything happened overnight. There was such a lead up for the Pac-12. They had 2-3 years to prepare for this, and they've basically imploded. They are now down to 4 teams. And I know what you're thinking. How did we get here? All right. So the University of Colorado announced its departure from the Pac-12, and that was just, to me, the latest domino. Again, they weren't the first team to leave the Pac-12. The move came after months of speculations, which we told you about. We had people on the inside basically saying this is an inside deal. And I'm going to tell you why it was basically an inside done deal in a second. That the Buffaloes might be on their way out of the conference, which they had been a part of for over 12 years. Remember, Colorado came from the Big 12. This was a big get for them to be able to expand their conference. And they had everything going for them, and they just pissed the bed. However, what's more dramatic to me is the welcome they got from the Big 12 Conference, because in July 2023, the Big 12 Conference tweeted a rather interesting 2-word statement from its commissioner on Colorado's switch back to the conference. Quote, "They're back," unquote. So let me put it in a snapshot. Why is Colorado leaving the Pac-12 Conference after 12 years? What do they stand to gain from this move? What perks does being in the Big 12 offer? And most importantly, where does this deflection leave the Pac-12 Conference? Sit back. We're going to unpack the details of this news that most likely signals a big shift in the landscape of college football. We're heading towards only really 3 big conferences, and it's going to be it. It's not going to be Power 5 anymore. This is not Power 5 now. It's Power 4. We'll see what the Pac-12 is going to do. So why is Colorado and many other schools leaving the Pac-12 Conference? Money. Plain and simple. Schools in the Big 10 and the Big 12 and the SEC were getting at least $10 million more than the Pac-12 paid. And to make matters worse, they lost 2 major cash cows going into contract negotiations with USC and UCLA. They are losing a Heisman winner who's going to go to the NFL and just legacy programs. That is not a good bargaining position for a conference that's trying to move their conference forward. Okay. Now, I know Coach Prime said this. He was like, look, y'all can't get mad at the players. You can't, because everybody's chasing a bag. This whole conference realignment thing, everybody's chasing a bag. Why you get mad at the kids? But let's move away from the whole money thing for just a little bit. You see, ever since the Buffaloes signed Coach Prime as their head coach in December, there have been speculations around their future in the Pac-12 Conference. His arrival brought a total overhaul of the program with the influx of players from other universities. While athletic director Rick George insists that money wasn't a factor in the decision to lead the Pac-12 Conference, the truth remains that money will always be an important factor in college football. Universities rely heavily on money from the TV and media rights because that's where they get funding for their operations and, most importantly, investment in athletic programs, and to keep it real, their bonuses. So saying money has no place in the decision is not exactly accurate. If it was so, they could have stayed in the Pac-12 even when there were uncertainties surrounding a new TV rights deal. Now, a new TV rights deal was proposed to the remaining schools, and that's what made everybody hit the door. They was like, oh no, this is bullshit. Because basically, they are counting on Apple on a short-term deal to give them a base, and then if they get subscribers, they can get up to the rest of the conferences or comparable, meaning the base pay would have been, in the $20 million range. If your subscriptions go crazy, there's no ceiling. Basically, they're saying this ties you in. But the point of it is the Apple deal was only 2 or 3 years. Okay. This wasn't a 10-year kind of TV contract like most of them have with Fox and ESPN and other platforms. That's not going to work for them. This was a show it and prove it deal, and that is not what they were sold. They were sold, no, this is how these things are done. We need to make sure this revenue is coming in. It's a revenue forecast. We are expecting at least $30 million to come into our accounts. And now that it is not, we need you to make us understand why not. Well, no, there's this Apple deal. No, the Apple deal sucks, and that's why they decided to leave. All right, so let's just get back on track. There is a bleak future for the Pac-4. Honestly, I really wish the Pac-4 Conference well as they figure out some kind of TV rights problem, TV rights deal to take care of this problem. But it's really looking like they need to merge. They've had such a tradition, over 100-year tradition, and it's hard to see them go out this way. But you can't point anywhere but the management who weren't savvy enough, who set them up to fail, allowed other conferences to jump them to get different contracts done. That's on them. So it's really hard to see that, but it just is a great lesson that even the best companies can get run into the ground by poor management. How do you fumble? USC, UCLA, Coach Prime, the Oregon Ducks, the Washington Huskies. All you had to do was make a deal. Heritage Sports.